Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. I'm Ricky Camilleri. You loved our next guest on Glee. You'll get to see him in this year's Crazy Rich Asians. And last night, he had some very big surprises on the show in which he stars, Shadowhunters. Let's take a look at Harry Shum Jr.
Sorry to interrupt.
Magnus.
Looks like someone needs a coffee.
No thank you. I already had 6. So, I was up all night researching the dark magic that Lilith has been using on Jace. I may have found a way to free him.
What? How?
Based on your descriptions, it seems that Lilith has Jace locked in some kind of a mental cage. And the only solution is breaking that cage by blasting Jace with enough magic to eviscerate her presence.
You have the power to do that?
No, but I will. In the Book of the White, I found a synthesis spell that allowed me to temporarily channel the magic of other warlocks.
How many warlocks?
I'll need at least about a dozen to match Lilith's strength. I'll have to call in some favors, but this should work.
There's just one tiny catch. We'll need the High Warlock's permission to organize something on this scale.
Everybody, please welcome Magnus himself, Harry Shum Jr.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's always nice to be here.
Congratulations on a big mid-season finale last night. Some big surprises.
Lots of surprises.
I believe you lost your powers.
Yes. Poor Magnus lost his, like almost identity in a strange way, saying that.
What did you think when you saw that in the script? How long have you known that was going to happen?
A little bit before, like midway through, when I think a couple episodes before, Todd and Darren told me about Magnus losing his power, and then, what that's gonna be, kind of the trajectory of like how, if he's gonna get it back, or how he's gonna deal with it, how he's gonna react with it. And I found it to be fascinating because that's like, I always look at it, it's like, your eyebrows aren't your identity, but if you shave it and it's never gonna grow back in a way like or just any part that you've had for so long that you look at yourself like, oh yeah, that's me, and you're like, whoa, this is the new me. How do I adapt to this, right? And how do I
forgot to wear a belt to work 2 days in a row, and it freaked me out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a joke, but it literally did. I kept being like, where is this? Who am I?
It's crazy, right? It's crazy. So, I mean, for someone like, for centuries, being used to this thing that he's honed in for so long, and now it's gone, I think it's gonna be fascinating to see how he climbs back up.
How do you do a scene that consists of the dialogue that we just saw, and does it take some getting used to?
Yes, definitely. Sometimes, honestly, like I could not recite that. Like I don't remember, because literally you learn it, and then you get to know it really well, and you want to make sure, obviously, you know what you're saying, why you're saying it, but sometimes it's almost like it just starts coming out, and in my mind, I'm like, what how did that come out of my mouth? And what's nice about this show is like you just transform into, this character, and then when you leave it, you're like, whoa, it's kind of an out of body experience.
Because of all the makeup and because of the kind
just
of dialogue.
Everything, the world, it's you look at it and like it's New York, but at the same time, it's also this hyper fantasy world where they live amongst this almost like alternate universe, which I think is so neat to be able to see on the show.
Talk about your character's relationship with Alex this season and how that has progressed. Did you ever see that happening?
Yeah, Alec
part of the books, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. Alec and Magnus. It dives a little deeper into the relationship, and I think for Malik, it's really important that it's played as honest as possible, and that's Matt Daddario. Big ups to him. I think he does a wonderful job, and it's really fun playing opposite of him and really kind of breaking down the scenes as much as possible. But I think for Magnus and Alec, for this season, for the 3A, it was kind of figuring out the differences between them and really figuring out not just, oh, I like coffee and you don't like coffee. It's more like, oh, you're immortal and I'm like mortal, well, opposite for him. And the fact that's like, whoa, what's gonna happen if like I become 80 and you still look like you're 20, and don't age. So I think that is a hard thing to grasp, and I think it'll be explored more in the upcoming season.
How do you figure that out as an actor? That is such an unrelatable thing to have to
You
perform.
don't know. I might be immortal.
You're very fit.
I'm not.
Maybe.
I'm definitely not.
But do you sort of take those things and turn them into something more relatable for yourself and think about it that way?
Oh, I definitely do. I think for someone, you got to think on the. It's more on the. It's kind of morbid, and if you think about it, like someone who's immortal, to never feel like there's an ending. It's kind of like tragic. You know, I think being human, you're just like, oh yeah, I have to, take every day and live it to the fullest. But when you get to a point where you're like, well, what does every day mean? You know, I'm gonna see the same thing. People go and people come. So I think there's this sadness of Magnus to be able to have that. So I don't know. It might be a little refreshing at the same time to live like, oh, I gotta take every day and spend days with my friends and even like with Alec to be able to embrace that in a way. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
That's so interesting because how old is Magnus actually at this point?
No one knows. No one knows. Centuries old.
Centuries old.
He it's like one of those things that you can't like even reveal. I think he lies about it, his age, because there's
But he's at least centuries old.
definitely centuries old.
So you would think if you were centuries old, there would be no drama in your life because you would be so like, well, things will move on. It doesn't matter. You're like, I'm going to break up with you. Okay, I'll find someone else in 100 years. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah. How sad. No, but it's that's what's so fascinating about this guy. I keep pointing to him because he's like right in front of me. It's so funny. Like, oh yeah,
That doesn't feel like you.
No. I mean, when you look at Magnus, there's a tragedy and a beauty with it because yes, he's lived so long, but he still cares so much, or he's had actually a big portion of his life where he didn't care, and now obviously meeting the people that he's met and then meeting Alec, it's something that brought that out of him, where he's like, oh, I'm not just that jaded person that I was and gone through so much tragedy in my life. This is giving me some kind of hope to live. Yes, with this coming up, with him losing his power, is a huge roadblock because it's like, oh, I'm ready to live forever, but at the same time, now it's like, oh, what is this short period of time that I can make the most out of?
Losing his powers, does that mean that he doesn't live forever now? Excuse me.
We will find that out in 3B.
I think you just said it.
Hey,
I think you might have.
I didn't say it.
Harry.
I didn't say it. You said it. Todd said it.
Todd said it. I got it. Thanks, Todd. You're a great dancer, right?
I'm okay.
But you're a really great dancer. And on Glee, you got to dance and sing all the time. And there's some behind-the-scenes videos of you online dancing on the set of this show. Does that mean that you're dying to dance? That you're just always trying to find a way to dance?
Or has my dance died? What? No. No. What I love is that they're able to utilize my dancing skills, I guess.
In different ways.
Yeah, it's been fun to like even just use that. Even if I'm not like waving in there, but I'm just like being able to do magic is some form of dance because I'm like expressing like movement and expressing like the character with a different type of movement. So molding it into its own style, which has been really fun to do. And in the mid-season finale, we got to see him fight with Javier Munoz, which he's incredible. He was really great to work with, especially him coming from musical theater background. It was really fun to kind of play with him because we're fighting without ever touching each other. So which is I think almost like a little harder because you're reacting. It was when I threw something and he knew the timing because it had the trajectory of it going to him and then him reacting to it was really fun to build on.
Have you ever asked them to sort of write in maybe a dance number for you?
Oh, they do it on their own. There's been one dance sequence on it and a possibility for another one. Spoiler. Todd didn't say it. I said it, I guess. So yeah, they try and fit in there, and I just want to make sure it makes sense. As much as I'm a dancer, I want to make sure that it makes sense for the character and the story.
When did you start dancing? How old were you when you started dancing?
People would say like you started dancing when you were in the womb, huh? And I didn't start dancing till I was 16, 17. So I was a little older. I caught the bug. It was.
Was that were you in classes or like taking dance classes, or did you start dancing on your own?
This is how it started. We were watching a dance performance at our high school, and my friend next to me is like, "Hey, bro, let's you want to audition for the dance team?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then we auditioned, and it wasn't a sense of like, "Oh my God, I want to dance." It was just for fun. We had nothing else to do, and then, it sounds really bad. It's just like people want to hear like a passion, and then I grew a passion for it, and I started to understand what dance really meant as far as self-expression, and that was a huge part for me because I was very quiet and shy when I was younger, and also like an introvert. Like it was hard for me to be social. So dance really allowed me to express myself, and also allowed me to reach out and find like a common bond with people. It was really neat.
And when did you start? When did you get Glee?
2009, I believe.
What had you been doing before that as a dancer?
I was going on
acting
tour
at that point.
No, I was straight up like professional dancing. I was in like Step Up 2. I did those movies, and You Got Served, and
Love the Step Up.
yeah. And I was on tour. I was on tour with different artists and doing shows and dance commercials. So for me, it was just like I was a working dancer that just tried to expand myself and do different things in the dance world before I got Glee. So I learned a lot from being able to dance with like people like Beyonce and like JLo and even like Mariah Carey. It was just really neat to be on stage with these
You danced
artists.
with Beyonce, JLo, and Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
If you had to rate them, who is the
don't
best?
do that to me. I can't.
Who
do
is the
that.
worst
I
of
can't
those
do
three?
that. I can't do that. I can't do
know
it.
you
They're
can't
very
do that.
unique in their own style. But I mean, obviously, we all know, like, especially if you watch like the latest Coachella.
It's incredible. It's the greatest thing.
I don't even have to say the name, right? It's just like Coachella. It was just incredible. You're sitting there like, whoa. I'm in awe of her, and even when I was dancing for her, it was funny because you'd walk by, and I shared this story before, but I would teach her. I would do this like weird, difficult. That I retired this move, but it was like this knee kind of like twirl that I would go, and you almost have to be double jointed to do that, and it took me a while, like a year or two, to figure it out. And then I remember she saw me do it in rehearsal. She's like, "What is that thing you're doing?" And then I taught it to her, and she learned it in like 5 seconds. And I'm just like, "Come on, man! How yeah, she's just
Good
this
at
person-
everything.
Yeah, she's good at everything.
Yeah. Someone said recently that she works harder than everybody on the set and in the studio. Like she
believe that.
puts in the work.
Oh yeah, I believe that. You're always having to. She's always, as dancers, you're always there to like kind of uplift the artists as far as like backup dancing goes. And for her, you had to like keep up with her. I mean, that was the challenging part, I guess, of dancing with her is that you had to get up to her level.
Which is probably not always the case.
No. I mean, there's a bunch of beautiful, like talented, incredibly talented artists out there. But someone like Beyonce, she's just gone to this level where it's not even just the ability, it's the charisma, it's the personality that you just cannot even sometimes even try and match. You just have to compliment, I guess.
Yeah. You're in Crazy Rich Asians, right? This year?
Yes. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's a movie that a lot of people are waiting for. It's based on this incredibly successful book. What was it like getting a role in that?
It's great. I mean, the book is by Kevin Kwan, and he wrote a trilogy that was just this beautiful story of these different, like it's almost you go into a different. It's like almost like a different world. When you go into Singapore and Malaysia and filming there was just incredible experience. Seeing all these different artists come together that you've watched for over the years, kind of in different projects. And I had an incredible time. I'm good friends with John Chu, the director, and being able to get on a role on this after reading the book, I was just so ecstatic about having the opportunity to be part of it. And honestly, I was watching it almost as a fan. I make a cameo in the movie, and the character that I am, is an expansion in the other in the rest of the series. But this particular movie, I'm just so excited to even just watch because I'm a fan of all the people that are in it.
Have you seen it?
I haven't yet, so I'll be watching with y'all.
Before we get to audience questions, what can people expect from the second half of this season of Shadowhunters?
More crazy things.
Got it.
No.
And question.
No, I think what we talked about with Magnus, you're going to see him exploring having no powers, but I think everyone else is going through some stuff. Some major stuff that they're dealing with that are in high stakes.
Some people might be dead.
Ooh, yes. Some people. No one's safe. That's the power of TV now. It's like nobody is safe. You never
Up
know.
the ante all the
You
time.
never know, and it's true. When you have stakes like this, you might fall off that cliff. Who knows?
Who has a question out here?
Hi, Harry. I'm a big fan of yours. So my question is, what advice would you give aspiring Asian Americans who want to break into the industry in acting or film?
Yes.
It's for Beyonce.
And for Beyonce. It's always a hard thing to say of like one thing that you can do, but I think just like anything, first obviously the layer is, study, work hard as much as you can, and learn the art of it, but also the business, because at the end of the day, it's all of that combined. But for me, I just learned as much as I could about different things and cultures. For me, it wasn't just about my culture that I wanted to express. I also have a unique kind of background where I was born in Costa Rica, and then I moved to America, and then I had to learn, these different languages and also these different cultures. It was a culture shock, but that's actually what those hardships of trying to get through is, I think for the best part, is use those hardships as something, as a positive, is I guess my outside of all the hard work that you need to do and learning, but it's use those hardships and embrace those, because you as an identity, no one can be like you. People can try and be like you, but no one can be you. And I think embracing yourself is the best thing that you can do.
Now, I'm curious, were you a really hard worker before finding dance?
My parents finding dance. Yeah, I did find dance. Yeah.
Sometimes people are, no matter what they're doing, they're incredibly hardworking at it, and sometimes people find something and that makes them very.
My parents put me to work when I was 9. People would be like, "Is that legal?" But my parents owned a restaurant, and I was just like in the back, like washing dishes, cutting like. I shouldn't have been cutting things at 9 years old. And then I was like a waiter. I would wait tables when I was, I think, 11. So I'd walk up to people and be like, "Hi, what would you like to order?" And
But you got great tips.
I got great because you're so cute. Here's $20. I'm like, yeah. So they taught me, how to work for something, and not things weren't handed to me and things weren't handed to them. So for them to bring that. And kind of that advice and also that kind of mentality really helped kind of push it towards what I'm doing now and hopefully what I'll be doing in the future.
Next question.
Hi, Harry.
Hi.
My question is, what inspired you to try out for a role in Shadowhunters? Did you try out for Magnus or a different role, and then you wanted to get Magnus?
I tried out for Clary, and then it just wasn't... I was like, you don't have the look or the essence. So I was like, all right, let me see what I can... No, I auditioned for the movie, and that didn't go too well. I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about my audition, sorry. I would be specific. Like, my audition didn't go too well. And then opportunity came up to audition for the TV show, and I think TV you get to explore more, and for me it was really fun, kind of building it with everyone, with the writers and the producers and their ideas on it, and also kind of my take and like the things that you can control as an actor is like the physicality and also the background, the story. Playing someone that's centuries old, I'm like, who? Like you were asking earlier, how do you find how can you put yourself into it? But I think the torture, of like what going through something so terrible over and over again, I think is what I kind of imagined, and seeing like the light that can come in the end of it. This was something really fascinating to me because there's so much to explore, and it's been a fun ride to be able to put on the makeup and then find if like ask questions like, is this a mask for him or is this his identity? What does it really mean? And that's been really fun and fulfilling as an actor.
Two more right here.
Hi. You kind of addressed this earlier when you talked about your dance background, but when Magnus does magic, it seems very dance influenced. Do you choreograph that before the scenes, and does it change based on what type of magic he's doing?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, it does change in a matter of, because there's been times where I like charge, because I always feel like you need to charge up. Like I've always seen before, like when people do
Video game character, right?
Yeah. It's like it's like a little play off of kind of like the chi and like bringing it in and pushing it out. But I always seen people just do this. I'm like, what is that? That's like a button. It's like an Iron Man thing, which makes sense. You're like, oh yeah, a Spider-Man. It's like that makes sense. But when you're throwing like an energy at someone, it needs to come from something. Whether it's like just a quick charge up to throw it, because some people just do this, and I'm like, even other people on the show that come on, I kind of have to be like, yo, it needs to like it needs to come from somewhere. So the choreography comes in tune with like the director, and we kind of discuss on like what makes sense and what type of magic that they're going to put in special effects. But as a fight sequence you saw in the mid-season finale, a lot of it comes from Magnus has almost like he's a little extra. Sometimes he doesn't need to do that, but it looks good, so he does it, and I find that funny, so I kind of like try and put that in there. But a lot of times, like opening portals, all that is carefully choreographed to hopefully what it's going to look like. Sometimes I don't know, and I do it, and in hopes that the special effects, visual effects guys will get it, and they're great, and they do some great stuff with it.
Have you ever brought any choreography ideas to the table, and the director's been like, "That's a little too dancey. Maybe we don't need the Running Man for this."
Yeah, right. I there's been a lot of behind the scenes videos of me just messing around, because I'm very conscious of making sure it doesn't look like a dance, because I think that's important to me, especially coming from the background. I don't want any of the magic to ever look like you're like doing the doing the Dougie and then being like boom, which would be funny
really
at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
that'd be really great.
Which could be fun.
A portal open.
Yeah, like ga. But yeah, it has to make sense in the world, and I think it would be fun to see Magnus do it in that way, just to have fun with it. But when you're in battle mode, I would love to see a sequence where he's just like almost having fun with an enemy, where he's just like dancing all the way through and just like casually throwing magic while doing a dance. That would be funny.
I think one more.
Hello.
Hey.
You seem to be filming a lot of projects lately between Escape Plan 3, Crazy Rich Asians, and Shadowhunters. How do you find that balance between flying back and forth to different sets? Like, do you sleep?
I have a secret project, and I have 2 clones. Their name is Harriet, and I think it goes back to the work. Like I was multitasking a lot of things. Like I was in the kitchen, a waiter, and I was cutting things and preparing things. So my mind has always been able to do different things, kind of not at the same time, but in scheduling. I think you can do a lot when you. I look at people like, you see The Rock, and you're like, how is he able to do all this and have time with family? So I think for me, it's really important to balance out with my family life and my personal life and also my career. I think that all these things kind of are just as important, and it's figuring out how to put them in a schedule that works for me, and to me that works and might not work for someone else. So I'm very lucky to have that background, but I think it's very possible, and it makes me incredibly happy.
Harry, thanks so much for being here, man. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shadowhunters Immortal Insurance is on Freeform.
Thanks.
When does the second half of this season start?
We don't know yet.
Oh, we don't know yet.
Do we? Can I say? What is this? No.
Harry Shum Jr.
Yeah, there we go. We'll end it on that.